Hello, Shiver Seekers. Are you ready to follow us into the unknown? I'm Cynthia,
And I'm Stephanie. You found the dark oak.
and today I'm going to bring you part one of the Ellen Greenberg case. Ellen Greenberg was found stabbed to death in her apartment alone behind a locked door.
Oh, Cynthia, this is a highly anticipated, highly controversial case. So I'm really looking forward to what you're going to bring, or maybe I'm not. I don't know. I'm intimidated by this case.
Stephanie, wow, there is so much on this case. Breaking this into two parts, we could have easily done a whole series on Ellen Greenberg. So I'm going to hit you with the high points. And I will tell you, I researched this case and I think I found some things that I don't remember hearing reported in a lot of the mainstream content that I've listened to on this case. So I think I'm going to bring you some stuff that may not be common knowledge about it.
Love it. Welcome to the Dark Oak, the mystery podcast with purpose. Each month through our charity, the Branch of Hope Foundation, we give a portion of earnings from both our Patreon and sponsors to a nonprofit organization related to the first episode of the month. To find out more, head to our webpage, thedarkoak.com, our Instagram page, The Dark Oak Podcast, or stay to the end of the episode and we'll give you all the details.
Before we get into Ellen Greenberg, I've got to give you a little update on John Paul Miller. Actually, you're the one who sent me. You must have a reminder for anything John Paul Miller that pops up.
I honestly hope that I don't, but I seem to. I mean, he's like the last person I ever want to see pass any of my social media feeds. But yeah, somehow I get the John Paul Miller news first.
And you are always sending it to me. So thankfully, I don't have to put an alert on my accounts.
Ooh, I hate that I'm the John Paul Miller messenger.
Well, if you're not familiar with this case, you got to go back to our episode on Micah Miller. But John Paul Miller was her estranged husband who, he was up to no good. And it has just come out this week that he has been arrested for the rape of an adolescent girl. Several years ago, he was 19 at the time, and I believe she was 15. But then she alleges she was attacked again in more recent years by John Paul. I would like to say this is a surprise, but knowing what we know about John Paul Miller, it's not. And I think as time goes on, we're only going to hear more and more of what kind of depraved activities he's been involved in.
I think our takeaway from that case is that Micah Miller sadly probably took her own life. However, he probably pushed her to do it. So while he can't be held legally responsible for her death, it's nice to know that he's going to have to pay his dues in other ways.
Right. And I will tell you, when we covered Micah's case, I really struggled with the fact that, again, like you said, I do believe she took her own life. And there is this part of me that just thought, but why? You're the good one. Why? And hearing this latest update about John Paul really just made me think, you know what? If this is the person you're sharing your life with, I mean, a literal rapist, someone who rapes a 15-year-old girl, among all the other things that we know he has done. What a dark place. What a dark place to be. And it really helped shine some light for me as to the mindset she must have been in.
Yeah, and in many ways, because he had Micah to paint this perfect picture. In some ways, she may have even felt like she was somehow enabling him to do these horrible things and to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. I mean, he's a pastor, for goodness sake.
He was a pastor. Ugh. That's the part that gets me the most.
Yeah.
Someone who really genuinely should be helping people. I think we've said it every time we've talked about John Paul, because this is not the first update. It's not the first time he's gotten in trouble since his estranged wife's death, but everywhere he goes, he leaves a trail of pain.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, if he's behind bars, that will at least hold him at bay for a while.
Yeah, we'll bring you
And
more updates as they
yeah,
come.
and I hope this girl receives justice.
Me too. Me too. Well, let's talk about Ellen Greenberg. I want to start off by telling you about a content creator named Gavin Fish. Now, Gavin Fish is a YouTube creator, and I'd never heard of him before. I was listening to the prosecutor's coverage on Ellen's case, and they referenced Gavin Fish and said, if you want to do any kind of research on this case, go to his website, look at his stuff. And let me tell you, Stephanie, I didn't count, but I would not be surprised if there were 30 to 50 videos on the Ellen Greenberg case on his website. I actually joined his Patreon because I thought this guy is working. He is working. And I was able to access so many reports and 911 calls and surveillance tapes. I mean, this was like a one-stop shop for information.
Wow. Okay, so he's really invested in this case.
He is really invested in this case and others. But as far as my research goes, I just focused on Ellen's case. But definitely a world of knowledge there. And I just wanted to cite him. He'll, of course, be listed with all my other sources. But he was really the primary source, because where else can you go and look at the medical reports and the police reports and the letters and the court documents?
Yeah.
So much information. So Gavin Fish, thank you so much for giving me so much information to look at.
Yeah, and if you ever want to do a collab, just saying.
Just let us know. I did send him a message saying, hey, I'm a co-host of a podcast and we're covering Ellen's case and I'm using you as a source. Thank you so much. And, I'm just waiting to hear back.
Well, listen, we love supporting other creators, and we love when creators do the real work. Here at the Dark Oak, we genuinely value fact-based research. So it's always impressive when we can find other creators that are doing the same thing. We love it.
Absolutely. And he definitely made my life easier. So thank you, Gavin Fish. Well, our story takes place in 2011 when Ellen Greenberg was a 27-year-old elementary school teacher living in Philadelphia with her fiance, Sam Goldberg. Together, they shared an apartment in the Venice Lofts Apartments in the neighborhood of Manayunk. Sam and Ellen had been dating for 3 years, and Sam had popped the question just the summer before. And the couple was super excited about the wedding that was scheduled for August of that year. By mid-January 2011, the save the dates had arrived, and they'd started generating feedback from guests. So that was really exciting.
Isn't that such a fun time?
It is a fun time.
I loved sending out save the dates. I thought that was a really fun time. Like, it's just all the possibilities. It almost was more fun than getting down to the planning of the actual wedding, because that's a little intimidating.
Well, we're going to talk about that because wedding planning is stressful.
It is, but I love sending the save the dates because it's like all things are possible.
Yes, and it's official. We're making it official.
It's official. It's official. Also, all your wedding dreams, at least in your head, are all going to come true.
Right.
Regardless of whether they do or not, in that moment, you feel like they are.
Yes, it's super fun. Ellen was a happy, confident person. She was fun and bubbly, someone who really enjoyed life. But something changed the year before, in 2010. It was during that year that Ellen seemed to withdraw a little bit. And according to Ellen's parents, Joshua and Sandra Greenberg, Ellen seemed to lose her confidence in herself and her abilities, and even her decision-making. Joshua noticed her running even simple decisions by Sam before committing to any kind of a plan, and that was unlike Ellen. Ellen's explanation for the change was that she was stressed out with work and wedding planning. And this is where we talk about, the save the dates are fun, but the wedding planning, that is stressful. At least it was for me. I found it very stressful.
Well, you and I in general are very anxious people. So anything big coming up will cause a good degree of stress for both of us. I find it interesting that not only did her parents notice it, but they brought it to her attention too. I think those are two almost very different things. Not only did they notice it, but they felt not only comfortable enough with her to bring it up, but also that it had become such a change that it was necessary to bring it up. That's a big deal to me.
It really had. As we go on, we'll see. There was a definite night and day change with Ellen. And you're right. I'm so thankful she had the kind of relationship with her parents where they felt safe talking to her about it, and she felt safe sharing with them.
She didn't feel like it was antagonistic or anything, but also that they were aware enough and engaged enough that they brought it to her attention.
Right. Well, and at one point, Ellen was so stressed out that she actually asked her parents if she could move home to Harrisburg and stay with them. And this was about 2 hours away from her place that she had with Sam. And as a parent, I can imagine this would be alarming.
I absolutely. She's left the nest. She's a professional. At this point, was she engaged?
She's engaged.
She's engaged. Okay, so that would definitely be a change.
Well, Ellen once again assured them everything was fine. She just wanted to be home.
I don't know. If I was in her parents' shoes, I would certainly be proposing that you talk to a professional.
Well, okay. From what I gather, her parents would have been fine with her moving back home. But before making such a life-changing decision, they did encourage Ellen to speak to a mental health professional.
Yep, I think that's the right call, because at this point, you're out of your depth as a parent. You need to be there to support, but she needs to speak to a professional to figure out why she's making these, what I would consider, rash decisions.
Well, they're big decisions, very big decisions.
Without a lot of basis.
Well, you'll be happy to know Ellen did make an appointment with a psychiatrist, Dr. Ellen Berman, and she did see this doctor 3 times, once on January 12th, again on January 17th, and finally on January 19th. Ellen actually had a 4th appointment scheduled with Dr. Berman for January 27th, but she wouldn't live long enough to make it to that appointment. Now, we have access to some of Dr. Berman's notes, and it seems like during her first visit, Ellen told Dr. Berman that she would like for things to feel a little more in control. And she complained that she wasn't sleeping well and she didn't enjoy her job. On her second visit, she discussed how she wanted to quit her job, but Ellen's mom and Sam really didn't want her to. Ellen mentioned that she would have been able to get out of her contract with just 2 weeks' notice, so quitting her job was a possibility. And in this visit's notes, it was specifically stated that Ellen was not suicidal. Then 2 days later, on January 19th, Dr. Berman's notes say Ellen felt 75% better and agreed that she should just finish the school year, go through June. She mentioned that she tended to walk around compulsively straightening up.
I am not a therapist, but as someone who has experienced both anxiety and depression, I can say I can see some of what I attributed to my own depression and anxiety. I can see some of those things in what you just described. So I'm certainly not diagnosing her with anything, but feeling out of control, that is definitely, for me, part of anxiety.
Well, Dr. Berman did diagnose Ellen with adjustment disorder with anxiety. And this is a condition that can be connected with suicidal thoughts. And according to WebMD, potential causes for this disorder include work stress, being bullied, and living somewhere that you don't feel safe.
Oh, okay. Well, which one of those were true?
Well, and I don't know that any of them are. Something to note for now.
Okay, fair enough.
Dr. Berman would also say that she'd asked Ellen about abuse at home, and Ellen denied any verbal or physical abuse. And in fact, Ellen had nothing but good things to say about Sam. Now, during these visits, Ellen was given a prescription for Zoloft and Xanax. And then on another date, she was also given a prescription for Klonopin and Ambien to help her sleep.
Wow, these are all pretty heavy hitters right off the bat.
Well, listen to this. This is weird. I'd be interested in knowing your thoughts on this. Many of the sources say that Ellen was first given the Zoloft and Xanax, and then by the next appointment, which was literally 1 week later, she went back saying they weren't working, and that's when she was given the Klonopin and the Ambien to help her sleep. But I can't imagine deciding a medication wasn't working within a week of trying it, unless you're having some really severe side effects. I just thought, well, that just seems like a really quick turnaround to be saying, okay, let's try something else.
Again, not knowing all the details, I would say the about face would be due to some kind of side effects. And as someone who has gone through some medications, I will say I've had some pretty big side effects, and I know right away this is not the medication for me. Now, some of those are more quick acting. So you should be able to see the beneficial effects pretty quickly. But again, if they're also associated with side effects, you would want to pull off of them. But again, she may have been given a baby dose. So
True.
she may not have been all the way up to a therapeutic level. But it would seem to me that there might have been some side effects that weren't working for her and they wanted to go a different direction.
That was the only thing I could think of. I'm not a doctor, but that was the only thing I could think of as to why such a quick turnaround. And honestly, I don't know that it even matters to the story. I wanted to make sure I was giving accurate information. And I did kind of think, is that accurate? Would this have really happened? But it sounds like it really could have.
Or maybe they really just decided to go another direction. I know certainly your therapist can suggest certain medications, but maybe she just went home and Googled it and said, this is a medication that I don't think is a fit for me, or there is a risk of side effects that I'm not even willing to struggle through. And she may have just said, these aren't for me, and request a different medication. You can do that.
Okay.
You can do that. You're not required to take the medication that the therapist gives you.
Okay. Well, that's some great insight because I was a little stumped on the medication aspect of this. What we do know for sure is that at some point in time, she was prescribed these 4 medications. On Saturday, January 22nd, Ellen met up with her friend Allison, who was also in the middle of planning her own wedding. And Ellen was going to be one of her bridesmaids. So the two were out looking for bridesmaids' dresses. But Allison would later say that Ellen wasn't her normal self during this day out. First of all, her hair wasn't perfectly done the way it usually was, which maybe isn't that big of a deal. But Allison went on to describe Ellen as visually disheveled. And then while they were in the dressing room, Ellen started crying. But when Allison asked what was wrong, Ellen said she was fine. It was Allison's big day, and she was just going to pull herself together.
Oh, man. It sounds like she was definitely struggling with something.
Now, 4 days later, on January 26, 2011, Ellen had been sent home from work early because there was a nor'easter coming into Philadelphia. In a place like Philadelphia, where they get a lot of snow, they're very well equipped for this kind of weather. So for them to be closing the schools, it's a big storm. It's a big deal. Ellen made sure all of her students were going to make it safely home before she headed to the parking lot where she ran into a man named Bruce Stern, who was a friend and a colleague. Now, Bruce helped Ellen clean the snow off of her car, and then they were just chatting, and Ellen told Bruce that she was really worried because report cards were coming out soon, and one of her students' mother really scared her. And she said that if the kid failed, she thought the mother, quote, might come after her, end quote. Now, Bruce knew that Ellen was well respected and that her job was not going to be in any trouble, so he told her not to worry. There probably wasn't going to be any school the next day anyway. He told her her bosses knew what was going on and that they would have her back. After getting the pep talk from Bruce, Ellen drove out of the parking lot and stopped to fill her car with gas on the way back to her apartment where Sam was already home. The couple spent a couple hours at their apartment together, and then at around 4:45, Sam left to go to the gym, which was right there on site. It was the apartment gym. He said he spent about 45 minutes at the gym before heading back upstairs, but when he got to his front door, it was locked. Now, when Sam left for the gym, he'd left his keys in the apartment, which makes sense. If he knows Ellen's going to be home, he doesn't want to have to, carry his keys around in the gym. But in this case, it wasn't the fact that he didn't have his keys with him that kept him out of his apartment, because it wasn't the deadbolt that was locked. Instead, the hinged bar lock or the swing bar lock was activated. And if you don't know what this looks like, go to our Instagram right now. Take a look at this lock so you can visualize what I'm talking about for the rest of the episode. This is the kind of lock that would be on the interior of a hotel room door. Typically, these can only be activated from the inside. So when this lock is activated, you can open the door a couple of inches, but then the bar catches, keeping you from opening the door the rest of the way. So it's just an extra step in security. I assume this wasn't something that Sam was used to Ellen doing, especially when she knew he was coming right back. And for the next hour, Sam texted, called, emailed, and yelled through the door at Ellen.
Yeah, this would be unusual. I mean, I can see maybe doing it at night when both of you are in for the night.
Yeah, it's very strange. I'm going to read to you the text that Sam sent to Ellen over the course of this hour. First, hello. Then, open the door. Then, what are you doing? Then, I'm getting pissed. Then, another hello. Then, you better have an excuse. Then, what the F? Then, ah. And finally, you have no idea.
Oh, that escalated kind of quickly, didn't it?
They're a little scary, right? He also sent an email between two of these texts that read, subject line was open. And then the body of the message was the effing door.
Wow. Okay. That is intense.
It is intense. And in retrospect, people look at these text messages and think that's how you talk to her. I can tell you I would be pretty annoyed if I were Sam. I would be pretty annoyed if I went downstairs to the gym and I come in and it looks like you locked me out and are taking a shower or taking a nap or doing whatever, and I'm waiting outside my apartment for an hour. I'm not going to be the nicest. I don't think I'd send these kinds of texts, but I'm not going to be happy. So I think we should give him that this would be frustrating. But I do think the way he is choosing to speak to her could sound threatening.
And also, Ellen's going through something. She's literally going to a therapist and is trying different medications. I don't know. I guess I would have just extended more grace.
I think I would have worried something was wrong.
This is what I'm saying. She's trying new medications. She's on new sleeping pills. I think that would have been more my tone. I either would have said, okay, something's wrong, unless this is something that she did often when she was pissed at him. You know,
which we don't know. It's never been reported.
Which we don't know. Maybe they got in a fight before he went down to the gym.
They may have.
In which case, that's why his mind jumped to her, intentionally locking her out. But I will say, it did escalate in a way I wouldn't expect.
I think that's fair. When Ellen didn't respond to any of these communications, Sam called his cousin, Camion Schwartzman, and Camion lived with his parents and put the call on speaker so that his father, James, could listen in. Now, James was a very prominent attorney in the Philadelphia area. And while he was on the phone, Sam was sitting on the floor of the hallway outside of his apartment. And during this time, several of his neighbors saw him sitting there. After a while, James and Camion told Sam he should just go downstairs and ask the security guard to let him in his apartment.
Yeah, it's funny he hadn't thought of that earlier. Again, especially if he would have thought something was wrong.
I don't get the impression that he necessarily thinks something's wrong.
Well, I don't either, which is weird. You know what I'm saying? Why would you just go to, well, she just absentmindedly locked me out?
Well, and maybe it's because she was doing those kinds of things.
Maybe.
Not knowing the history, I don't know. Maybe he was. Because I do think it's strange that you wouldn't be like, okay, something's wrong.
Right.
But for him not to go there makes me wonder if maybe this wasn't unusual behavior.
But we do know that neighbors saw him sitting in the hallway.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, after talking to his uncle and his cousin, Sam realized he didn't have many options. So he did take their advice and went downstairs and spoke to Phil Hanton, the building's security guard, or doorman. That term is used interchangeably. And he asked Phil if he could help Sam get inside. But Phil told Sam that breaking down the doors was against company policy, so Sam was going to be on his own. However, he was willing to call Ellen. And at 6:07 and 6:10 p.m., Ellen's cell did receive 2 calls from Venice Lofts, which went unanswered. At 6:14, still outside of the apartment, Sam called his cousin again because this first plan didn't work. The doorman wasn't going to help him. And he left a voicemail. At 6:26 p.m., Camion called Sam back, and 2 minutes later, Sam was seen on surveillance footage going back upstairs. When attempts to get Ellen's attention failed again, Camion and James instructed Sam to force his way into the apartment. And Sam did this while he was on the phone. When Sam finally got back inside of his apartment, he was met with a horrific scene. Ellen was bloody and unresponsive, sitting on the floor of the kitchen with her shoulders and head laying against the lower kitchen cabinets. So not quite sitting up. Sam immediately called 911. Now, this is a very, very interesting 911 call, so we are going to play it for you because I think you need to hear it.
Yeah, this is kind of an unusual move for us. This isn't our normal MO, but I do really want to hear this because I've heard this 911 call referenced several times in reference to Ellen's case, right? This is kind of a hot topic item.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. Let's listen to it.
Help! I need a emergency now. I just walked to my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere.
What is the address?
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please come. Help now.
4601
Flat Rock Road.
Is this a house or apartment?
Oh no! Oh no! It's an apartment. Please hurry, please.
Where is she bleeding from?
I don't know. I can't tell. She's.
No, sir, you have to calm yourself down in order to get you some help.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm looking at her right now. I can't see anything. There's nothing broken. She's bleeding. Ellie!
You don't know where she's bleeding from? Can't tell where
Ellie!
the blood's coming from?
I think her head. I think she hit her head, I think. But it's everywhere.
Okay, sir,
it's everywhere.
You think she might have fallen? Do you know what happened?
She may have slipped. There's blood on the table. Her face is a little purple.
Okay, hold on for rescue for her. Stay on the phone. What's wrong?
I went downstairs to go work out. I came back up. The door was latched. My fiance's inside. She wasn't answering. So after about a half hour, I decided to break it down. I see her now just on the floor with blood. She's not responding.
Okay, is she breathing? Look at her chest. I need you to calm down, and I need you to look at her chest. It's really.
I really don't think she is.
Listen to me. Someone's on the way. Look at her chest. Is she flat on her back?
She's on her back. So I bring her.
Look at her chest and tell me if it's going up and down, up and down.
I don't see her moving.
Okay. Do you know how to do CPR?
I don't.
Okay, I can tell you what to do. Okay, until they get there. I want you to keep her flat.
Oh God.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, okay.
Are you willing to do CPR with me over the phone until they get there?
I have to, right?
Okay, so get her flat on her back, bare her chest, okay? You want to rip her shirt off, okay? You need to kneel down by her side.
Oh, my God. Ellie, please.
Listen, you can't freak out, sir, because you
okay, I'm trying not to. Her shirt won't come off. It's a zipper. Oh, my God, she stabbed herself.
Where?
She fell with a knife. Oh, no, her knife's sticking out.
Her what?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
Oh, she stabbed herself?
I guess so. I don't know where she fell on it. I don't know.
Okay, well, don't touch it.
Okay, so I just let her down here now. I mean, what do I do?
No, I mean, you can't. If the knife is in her chest, it's going to be kind of hard for you to do CPR at this time.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Police, which operator? 277.
Is someone coming here?
Yes, they are. You said 4601 Flat Rock, right?
Yes.
Okay, someone's on the way. And the knife is still inside?
Wait, so what?
The knife is still inside of her?
Yes, I didn't take it out.
Was it her chest or what area?
It's in her chest. It looks like it's right in her heart.
Okay, someone's on the way out there. Okay, just get.
Oh my God! Okay,
how old is she?
She's 27.
27, and there's no sign of life at all.
No, please don't be. What?
Pinch her under her arm and tell me if she responds to pain.
Ellie. She's not. Her hands are still warm. I don't know what that means, but there's blood everywhere. I mean.
I know, but you can't, and the knife is still inside of her. How far? Can you see how far it went in?
It looks pretty deep.
Okay.
It looks it's a long knife.
Don't touch anything. Yeah, don't touch anything, okay?
I'm not touching anything. I can't believe this, though.
So wait, it was just you there with her?
We're the only ones here.
And she ran in the door, you said latched it shut?
No, I went downstairs to work out, and when I came back up, the door was latched. Like, it was, it wasn't like it was, it was like locked from the inside, and I'm yelling. So I'm
was
yelling.
Your house broken into?
No.
So there's no sign of a break-in?
No sign of a break-in at all. I mean, there will be when you get here because I had to break the latch, but to get in.
Okay, 4601.
Okay, so Stephanie, there are some things that stick out to me. First of all, I find it interesting that when he gets on the phone with the second dispatcher, he starts off by giving his alibi instead of asking for help. Like he goes through that, I was downstairs in the gym and then I came upstairs and the door was locked and I didn't know why and she wasn't answering and then I found her. He goes through this really unimportant information when he really, you would think, would be asking for help. Help, my fiance is down here. She's bleeding. She's not answering.
I do also think it's kind of inconvenient that he has to talk to a second dispatcher.
I agree.
I don't know what I would have done, because here you are talking to a whole new person. It's almost like you have to start from the beginning. I don't know. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, my mind would just kind of start over.
I agree, but he didn't go into that much detail the first time.
No, that's true.
And honestly, it doesn't matter where he was. It doesn't matter if he was at the gym. It doesn't matter if he can't open the door. Not in this situation. If he's talking to a police officer saying what happened, then yes, that's important information. But when you're just trying to get somebody to come help you, that's not important information. Now, in this moment when he's stressed out, is his mind thinking about that? Probably not. But I do think it's unusual.
Yeah, okay.
I also think it's interesting how he responded when the dispatcher suggested he tried to perform CPR.
Yeah. How he almost tried to like brush off the idea of performing CPR.
Right. Yeah, that was just strange that, you know, when she said, okay, try CPR. And he's like, I mean, I have to, huh? I have to, right?
Right.
Like, I just thought that was an interesting
And then
response.
also, there's a knife.
Okay, so a lot of people are bothered by the fact that he seemed to, after several minutes of looking at Ellen and being near Ellen, just happened to see the knife. That it was a kitchen knife, and it was sticking out of her several inches. So you would think that would be something you'd notice quickly. At the same time, I don't know. She's laying here. There's blood. She's wearing a hoodie. You know, I'm sure it's not pristine. It's probably bunched up. Who knows? There's a knife. There's a lot going on.
For me, the strange comment was the knife is in her heart. That to me just seems kind of strange. Maybe it's not, but I feel like that's very strange to say it's in her heart. Wouldn't you just say her chest? Like, is he a doctor? How does he know it's in his heart or in her heart? I don't know. That seemed a little strange to me. But
It did seem strange, yes, in her heart. But again, I don't know. I just think in these situations, I really do try to give as much grace as possible. And Sam gets so much flack for the way he responded in this 911 call. And I agree. He seemed a little too calm, and he seemed a little too, almost disgusted at the idea of performing CPR.
maybe he was, though. He did say her face was looking not like what he referred to it as.
Kind of purple.
Yeah, he said her face is kind of purple. So I can see maybe, I mean, he really is like not disgusted. Maybe that's not the right word. But if he thinks she's deceased, you know, you're going to want to touch your deceased fiance's body.
I can even see him worrying about hurting her. So my 8-year-old has pretty severe allergies to the point where we have to carry an EpiPen. And when he was a toddler, we were at a birthday party and he ate some cake and it had some dye in it we did not know he was allergic to. And he immediately was covered in welts and started coughing and really struggling to breathe. I was at this party with my mom and, you know, my little one.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
It was very scary. So we immediately put him in the car. We were on my mom's side of town, so we were going to go back to her house. We immediately put him in the car, and I'm sitting in the back seat with him. My mom's driving, and as she's driving, it's getting worse. Like, he's having a harder time breathing. It's not getting better. And I had the EpiPen with me. I carry it everywhere. I had the Benadryl. I had my cell phone. I had all of this stuff. And instead of doing anything, I completely froze. I did nothing. I freaked out. My mom had to pull the car over and handle the situation because I was in the back seat so panicked, I couldn't do anything. And it wasn't for a lack of caring. I mean, I was absolutely terrified. But in that moment, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to give him an EpiPen if that was the wrong thing to do. That's a big deal. You don't just go around, you know, shooting yourself with an EpiPen. I didn't want to give him the Benadryl and then later on have to give him an EpiPen, and now I've given him too much. Like, all these thoughts. And so what made sense to me is do nothing. Just do nothing. So when I think about myself in these kind of situations, which I think if we've learned anything, we've learned you don't want Cynthia as your partner in an emergency situation. Y'all remember my bear story.
Where you just froze and stared at the bear as your sister's like, Cynthia, we should move away.
I literally stayed sitting on the ground as the bear walked right up to us, just looking at it, froze.
I'm screwed, y'all. I'm screwed. That's all I'm going to say. Stephanie speaking here. I'm screwed.
Fortunately, Stephanie has like the opposite kind of responses. Like she's like, I got this. Let me handle this. So I think we'll be fine.
Just I keep bringing up this. I keep having flashbacks from The Office where Michael Scott comes out and, things are going well in the office. He's like, we are screwed. That's all I keep saying in my head.
Yeah. If left up to Cynthia, yeah, you are. But knowing this about myself, it makes me give a little more grace in these situations because I can absolutely see myself walking in on someone I love in this scenario and freezing. And it's not that I would be disgusted or bothered or not want to do CPR, but I don't know how. What if I make it worse? What if I do it wrong? All the things.
I mean, I have personally been through some pretty traumatic things. And I can tell you people absolutely react differently. And a lot of it is simply biological.
Yeah.
There's no willing yourself out of it, but your brain just goes into overdrive. There are biological responses where literally the blood stops flowing to your brain because it's, your body's trying to protect itself. There really is fight or flight. I mean, those are all real things. So yeah, I can see all of that. We did point out some peculiarities in this 911 call, but my ultimate takeaway is I don't think we could say one way or another, because I'm feeling this is the way this is going, that Sam is going to be accused of somehow harming her. I don't know from that phone call alone if you could prove guilt or innocence. That's my feeling at this point in time. Now, if there's something else that we need to look at, let's look at it. Definitely some peculiarities. But until you're in that situation, I don't know that you can say what you would do.
I agree completely. I think it's really easy for people to say, oh, he should have noticed the knife.
I'm sure if he were to do it again, he would probably do it differently. So I'm not taking away from any of the oddities, but I don't know that they scream, I'm a murderer either.
And here's the thing. It's an odd situation.
Yes, of course it is.
He walked into an odd situation.
Well, and I feel like that's almost why you said, why does he feel the need to go into his alibi, as you called it? I think because in my mind, I would say, I just left her and she was fine. And now all of a sudden she's laying on the floor in a pool of blood. I just went to the gym and now I got locked out and now I'm in the door and now here she is. And how is this happening? How is this happening right now? You know what I'm saying?
That makes sense. I do see that.
Is it odd? Yes. But does it point to something more nefarious? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. For me, this call does not make me think, okay, it's Sam. I think it's important we acknowledge for a lot of people, this call makes them think Sam can do nothing right in this case.
Well, and I'm not going to argue that he does some things that are odd. But again, until you're in a situation like that where you see a loved one gravely injured, I don't know that you can say what you would do.
I'm with you. I agree wholeheartedly. Emergency responders arrived at 6:36 p.m. and Ellen was pronounced dead shortly after. And listeners, I'm sorry to do this to you, but this is where I'm going to leave you for part 1.
Oh, right when it's getting so wild.
So wild. And in part 2, we're going to talk about what the scene looked like. Very, very bizarre scene. What her injuries were. We're going to see what the witnesses had to say. Her bungled autopsy.
No, another one.
Oh, it's a mess. It's a mess. We're going to talk about things that have been misreported. There have been a lot of highly misreported things in this case.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there's a lot to talk about in part 2. Definitely come back for that.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll talk about Branch of Hope since you've left us with Ellen on the floor. All right, so we are going to talk about our Branch of Hope for March 2025, which we covered in the Logan Schindelman case. This is Light the Way. Light the Way is a pretty high-powered missing persons advocacy group, and they've covered some pretty big names. One of the ones that I saw, actually, Julie Murray has given them a shout out after they helped her with her sister's disappearance. We also referenced that the Gabby Petito Foundation has partnered with them to give more families resources. And of course, in Logan's case, they have helped search for him, and he is still a missing person. My opinion is possibly that he started over, and they're encouraging him to contact his family and at least let them know that he's safe. And of course, that is our hope as well, that he has started over somewhere and is living a wonderful life. So all that to say, Light the Way is doing some really great things. They also cover some other missing persons cases that we have not covered on our podcast that I hope to one day cover. But if missing persons is your thing and you are looking to help out, they have flyers, they post personal stories about each of their missing people, and it really helps to humanize the missing, which I think is sometimes lacking in some coverage, because it just starts to feel like they're just one in a sea of millions. And we never want to lose sight of the fact that this is a loved one. This is a person. This is a valuable person, and they are worth our time, and they are worth covering. They're worth talking about. They're worth finding.
Well, what strikes me as so special about Light the Way is here you've got these communities of people who are just living nightmares, losing these loved ones. And then here you have this organization who's literally helping to light the way, like make such a dark time just a little bit easier for them. I think that's so beautiful.
It absolutely is. So if you want more information about them, you can head to our Instagram account. You can head to our webpage, thedarkoak.com, or you can go directly to their page to find out more information about missing persons and to also donate financially if you would like to do that. If you are a Patreon member, know that you are not only helping to support us as creators, which makes us feel so loved. We're sending out little baby hearts to you right now. But you're also helping to support this amazing organization this month. And that is really invaluable to what we do. Cynthia and I, genuinely enjoy spending time together. We enjoy researching these cases.
I was going to say, thank God.
At least from what we say on the outside. But no, we genuinely do. This is such a wonderful outlet for us, and we enjoy doing it. But having your financial support really goes a long way in our world to help us continue to do what we're doing. It's nice to know that we have your support.
That's right. We'd love to see you over on that Patreon.
That's right. Okay, guys, we'll come back for part 2. I know you're going to. I want to know what those falsely reported facts are.
Well, and I will tell you one thing. I'm going to give you this one teaser. I am really proud of myself, not to toot my own horn. I'm really proud of myself.
She said beep, beep.
I'm really proud of myself because at least 2 of these often reported facts are things I remember hearing in the last several years when I was just listening to coverage on this case, and I believe to be true. And I find it pretty interesting that they aren't accurate.
Did they change your opinion of this case?
It might have, actually, because the 2 things that we've heard that are not true are pretty damning evidence. So if we learn that these things that make somebody look suspicious aren't accurate, you almost can't help but to change your opinion a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, come back next week, guys.
Come back next week for all of that.
All right, Shiver Seekers. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. This episode of The Dark Oak was created, researched, written, recorded, hosted, edited, published, and marketed by Cynthia and Stephanie of Just Us Gals Productions, and made possible by you, our shiver-seeking listener. Special thanks goes to Justice Himes for our incredible artwork and Ryan Crete for our amazing music.